Hello everybody and welcome to Ian's Bricks. So last week I went to the Weston-Super-Mare Brick Festival. I've actually been to this brick festival before back in May, and it was a very successful event for me. Very busy, lots of sort of people milling around, which is really good. So I decided to go back again. It was the Sunday the 5th of November. Luckily for me the weather wasn't too bad, because the weather previously during the UK had been really bad, and I was sort of a little bit worried that people wouldn't come because it'd be really wet, but actually it wasn't too bad. Now, it certainly wasn't as busy as last time. It's actually held at a leisure centre called the Hutton Moor Leisure Centre, which is just on the outskirts of Weston-Super-Mare. Fairly easy access, there's free parking there, which is great. The venue, as I say, it's not the largest sports hall in the world, but you can certainly get a decent amount of sellers and displayers in there. There was sort of a real nice mixture of people who were displaying Lego and people like myself who were selling Lego. The Brick Festival people, as always, they'd advertised their event really well, so they'd sold quite a few tickets. And also, one thing I will say about the venue, because it's a sports hall and there's free parking, it was actually really easy to sort of park the car at the back of the venue, go through the fire doors at the back, and then you were straight into the venue. So I know with some of these brick festivals, especially for example the London ones, you have to get allocated time slots, so it can be more tricky. Or say like at the Bournemouth Brick Festival I went to back in September of this year, the parking was horrendously expensive. It was like £20 for the day, which is a bit of a rip-off. So a lot of positives for that particular venue. And one thing I will say as well is that I didn't have any signal problems as well. So while I'm at these brick festivals, I obviously take quite a lot of payments via credit card. And I've got a little SumUp card reader which I use, which I had a few years ago. It still works fine. I make sure it's charged. It's sort of linked to my phone. I do a lot of the work sort of if I'm putting amounts in on my telephone, and then that will send it to the card reader and people will just sort of tap the card. So I had a really good 5G signal pretty much all day. One or two issues with the card reader. It was a little bit odd, the fact sometimes I put an amount in and it wouldn't stay on the card reader for very long, so I had a couple of minor issues with that, but all in all the card reader worked a treat this time, which was a good thing, because actually most of the money that I took, I'd probably say a good 80% of all the payments that I took on the Sunday were on the card reader, so that all went well. So yeah, the venue, I was able to get there at 7:30. You probably saw my video a few days ago. If you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link at the end of this video for that particular video of the actual event day. So we could load from 7:30 in the morning into the building, the event itself opened at 10. And what they tend to do, Brick Festival, is they'll allocate a certain amount of tickets. So I think the 10 o'clock people came in first. I think their tickets cost a little bit more, and then from 11 o'clock and then 12 o'clock onwards, each hour there'd be a little wave of people coming through. And the event itself was pretty successful. I say it wasn't quite as successful financially wise as the previous Brick Festival in Weston, where I'd done really well, but it was still good enough to sort of make it a very successful day for me. I certainly didn't have any complaints at the end of the day, and I know a lot of the other traders there as well, they'd done okay. Some of them had been to the Milton Keynes Brick Festival the week before, where they had issues with signal and mobile signal and things like that, and so they were sort of pleased to sort of go to the Western Festival and actually make a little bit of money where they maybe hadn't made as much as they'd hoped for at Milton Keynes as well. And I will say as well about that is that I did hear that there were quite a few people, for whatever reason, maybe had a few things stolen, which obviously is not a great thing. I was very aware of this, and I always sort of am at these brick festivals, but I only really have 2 tables, so it's actually reasonably easy to keep an eye on them, and my partner's there as well to keep an eye on the table when I'm sort of busy and faffing with talking to people or whatever. I just say, you know, can you keep an eye on the stall while I'm a bit busy? And that always helps to have a second person there just to sort of monitor the table, that, you know, can take cash or something if I'm busy with a credit card machine or something like that. So it always sort of helps, in my opinion, to have sort of that second person as well. and I just basically used my car. So my car's reasonably large. I can get quite a bit of stuff in the car. I pack it all in boxes, and I bought more than enough sets to sort of sell. I think on the day I had a total of 124 sealed or boxed Lego sets. So that's anything from a sort of tiny little gift with purchase promo to sort of the larger, the modular buildings, things like that. So I had 124 of those, and in total I sold 67, which means I had 57 left. So again, not quite as good as some of the other brick festivals. I know in the past when I've done these things I've sold around about 80 or 90 box sets, so I didn't do quite as well. But I think where I was lucky is I did actually manage to sell one of my big sets, which I've been taking to me to all of the brick festivals recently, which is my modular greengrocer set. Now, I bought this greengrocer back in 2010. I have had a couple prior to that which I'd sold on, but this one I've been hanging on to for quite a while. I've taken it to all the brick festivals that I've been to. That's sort of 6 or 7 now, and it just hadn't sold. I've always had interest in it. People sort of like to look at it. I always had it on at quite a high price as well. I think in the past I've had it on a sort of £1,200, £1,400, and I had it on at £1,400 at the Western Brick Festival. And again, people had sort of looked at it and were interested in it, but I know the price tag is very, very high, and it does put people off. And you'll probably say to yourself, well, why don't you lower the price? Well, the thing is, it does sell for that price. In fact, it sells for a lot more of that on places like Bricklink and things like that when it's working. And so I sort of thought I'd stick to it and see where we went with it. Anyway, around about an hour into the event, this lady came up to the stall and asked about the greengrocer, and I actually recognised her. She'd actually been to the previous Brick Festival back in May, and she'd asked for the greengrocer then. She wanted it for her collection. It's the only one that apparently she hadn't got, but obviously she was reluctant to pay the price, which I can understand because it's quite a lot of money to spend. And but last time she didn't really sort of barter and haggle, so luckily this time we had a bit more of a chat. I recognised her straight away actually, and I just thought it was a good opportunity. She was obviously after the set. I was obviously after selling it, and so eventually after a little bit of haggling, I did actually sell it for £900. Now I know what you're saying. You had it on at £1,400. Why did you sell it for £900? Well, look, the reason I sold it is because I had taken it to 6 or 7 brick festivals previously and hadn't sold it. So ultimately, I do want to sell things, and ultimately that's the price you could pay. I say we had a bit of a chat and a bit of a haggle, and at the end of the day, I think she's got a very, very good bargain there. But I'm still happy because I've sold it. I've sold it for a profit. You know, yes, I bought it 13 years ago. It cost me, I think, £100 back in the day. And during that time, I've obviously had to hold on to this. I've kept it in really good condition. I've moved house many times during that period of time, so I've had to take it with me and be careful how I've stored it and things like that. Obviously we have inflation as well to take account of, but at the end of the day I'm still making a reasonable profit on a set, which yes, I've had to hold on for quite a while. It's not all doom and despair either, because I do actually still have some more greengrocers as well, so that wasn't the only one that I had. So I will still be able to take greengrocer sets to these brick festivals, and as I say, once Bricklink is sort of back up and running again, I will probably put one on there as well, just to see if I can sell it for maybe a higher price, because it is a set that I think I can sort of potentially sell for a lot higher than a lot of the other sets. So that is about the greengrocer then. So that's pretty much everything there. So what I also want to talk about was some of the other larger sets that I did sell. So I also sold a couple of other modular buildings. One was 10260, the diner. I sold that for £240, and I think the guy that bought it had actually seen the day before I'd put a planning for the Western Brick Festival video on YouTube, and he'd seen it was part of my collection there, and he actually came in to buy that. So that was really, really good. Profit on that one, I think I bought that a few years ago and that cost me £130. So it's around about £110 profit, nearly 100% profit, maybe about 90% profit on that one, so that's not too bad. I also sold another modular building, 10264, which is the corner garage. I sold that for £200. I did have it on for £215. The guy came to me and says, well look, will you accept 200, and I had to think about it. I thought, well, you know what, I'm here to sell things. I was aware it was probably a little bit quieter than the last event, so I just wanted to, you know, people were willing to spend money, so I did sell it at that price. It still was a £90 profit for me on that particular set, so I did sort of make approximately maybe 50% profit on that one, slightly less than that. Another large set I sold was 10220, the VW camper. I had a few of these back in the day. I'm starting to run out of them now, but I took another one with me. Sold that for £150. This is a set I'd had for many, many years. Again, probably about 8 or 9 years, so not quite as long as the Greengrocer, but a fair time. And I think originally they cost around about £75, maybe £80. So again, there was still some profit in there for me, but probably not, certainly not as much as the Greengrocer. And a couple of sets which I did sell, which I really didn't sell for much profit, but again I had a look at these and there were sets I just wanted to take with me. They'd not really increased greatly in value since they retired, and there were sets that I just thought, you know what, I'd need to offload these and maybe use the money to buy something else. So one of them was 10269, the Harley Davidson Fat Boy. I think I purchased that around about £85 in the day, and I sold it for 100, so really only a very small profit of about £15. So you'll probably say that's probably not worth it, but at the end of the day I've sold it, I can use that money for something else, and I don't think it was a set that was ever going to really vastly increase in value over a short space of time. And another set similar to that was 10277, the Crocodile Locomotive. I sold that for £110, so again more than I bought it for, around about £34 profit on that one from what I paid for it a few years ago. But again, I think nice enough set. I do have another one of those tucked away as well, so but I've sold that, and I say I've made my money on that one now, which is fine. And also another set was 21324, the Sesame Street set. Again, this is a set that maybe hasn't increased as quickly as I thought it might do. It only retired at the end of the last year, so maybe give it a little bit more time, but I do have more of these stacked away. It wasn't the only one that I own. And I sell the Sesame Street set for £120, which for me was a £35 profit on the buying price from just over a year and a half ago. So it's probably not that bad, not the greatest, but again, it's something I've sold. I do have more of those. Again, with these brick festivals, sometimes I'm having to take things maybe that I haven't held on to for long enough, because when I go to the brick festival, I want to make sure I've got a good variety of sets and different sets and unusual sets maybe that other people don't have. So this is why sometimes I'll take a set that's thinking, okay, it's maybe not performing that well, I'll sell it, see if I can sell it, make a bit of money from it, and maybe buy something else in the future. And one final set which I really didn't make much money on at all, but it's still a slight profit, 71040. That's the original Disney Castle. I bought that at £300. I paid recommended retail price for that set a couple of years ago. Obviously since then they've released or re-released the Disney Castle in a slightly different form, so I sold it for £320, so literally only a £20 profit. But my reasoning for selling that is because the new Disney Castle is probably going to be on shelves like the old one for 4, 5, maybe 6 years. I'll be going to be hanging on to that set for a long time, I think, without making much more of a profit than I did really at the weekend. So yes, it's only a very small profit, but again, that's freed up quite a lot of money for me to spend on other Lego sets in the future. A couple of other, talking about idea sets like the Sesame Street before, a couple of other sets which I sold were the Friends Central Perk. I sold that for £80. That was, I doubled my money on that because I bought that for around about £40 back in the day. And also the International Space Station, very small profit on this one, only around about £18, sold it for £78. Again, a set that only retired last year, but again, it's not increased a great deal in value since last year, and I do have more of those as well. One theme that did fairly well for me were Brickheads. Now, you've probably seen in a lot of my Lego hauls, I do buy a lot of Brickhead sets, and I've started to now take some of these sets to brick festivals. In the past I've sold a few of them, and I didn't sell them all, but I did sell some of them, and some of them that I was actually pleasantly surprised with which sold were my sort of animals. A couple of years ago Lego did lots of animals. There were dogs and cats and goldfish and all sorts of things. And I managed to buy a few of these. I think it was only at the end of last year, and they were at this particular stage they were all discounted on Lego.com, because you can pretty much only buy Brickheads from Lego.com in general. And I bought a few of these, and I think I got money off there, and I also used some VIP points. So my buy-in price for all of these smaller Brickhead sets was really, really small. It was like about £2.50, £3 each. And I took 4 different sets with me just to see whether they sold. I didn't really think, if I was honest, that they would sell. I had a look at the sold eBay price, and there's a little bit of a variety of selling prices on eBay for these Brickheads. But I'll go through what I sold. And there was basically there was a poodle which I sold for £14. There was the goldfish, which I sold for £18. The French bulldog, which I sold for £20, and the koi fish, which I sold for £25. And what was interesting about these Brickheads, I'd not actually put them out on my stall at the start of the day. I only started putting them out once I'd sold a few things, and I put the koi fish out first. Now the koi fish seemed to be the one that had gone up most in value, and I think that was because it had a really short shelf life. It only had around about 9 months shelf life on Lego.com. So again, I always talk about when I buy Lego for Lego investing, look at sets which have got less than a year in shelf life, and generally they'll do fairly well. And as I say, the koi fish really surprised me, because I literally bought it for around about, it cost me £3, and I've sold it for 25 in less than a year. So that's not a bad profit. Now I do have a couple more of those koi fish tucked away. I have to maybe take them to my next brick festivals, but it just sort of goes to show you that actually did surprise me, even somebody that likes to buy a lot of Brickheads. It was nice that I was able to sell that. So yeah, so once I'd made a bit of a space, I put the koi fish out, and this girl came round and she'd actually looked at it. I think I had a slightly higher price on at £28, and she sort of hummed and hawed, and I saw her looking at them for a while, and I think they picked up another couple of Brickheads as kind of a few people together, and they picked up another couple of Brickheads as well that were there. So I then went into the box at the back of the stall and pulled out the other animal Brickhead sets which I'd actually got, and put them out on display as well. And they actually all sold really, really quickly. Once I'd put them on display, they all kind of sold out within about an hour. I literally only had one of each. But it was sort of really interesting to see them go, and I've always sort of said Brickheads are very popular. They're sort of nice collectible little things, and but even with the animal ones, which I didn't think maybe would do that well, I did it a lot better for me than I thought they would do. I also had the bride and groom Brickheads. Now those ones I'd actually managed to get for free. They were sort of gifts with purchase, and sort of extra gifts with purchase a while ago. I had paid money for some of the ones that I'd got, but I sell those for £10 each. I know it's not it's not a great deal of money. I think the recommended retail price for them was probably around about that time, so whoever got them was probably getting a fairly good deal. But again, I generally didn't think they would probably sell. I just sort of took them on a whim, really. But they sold, and that was really good. And also another Brickhead that sold was the Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and that was from a couple of years ago, and that had sold for £20. I think I paid around about 12 or 13 for that, so not a huge discount on that one, but certainly a little bit of a discount. And again, surprising that I was able to sell that set so early on after it had retired. A couple of Brickheads that I took that didn't sell. There was the Stranger Things one. I took that didn't sell. I have sold them before though, and one of the Harry Potter, the Bellatrix Lestrange, and the Voldemort set as well, that didn't sell either. So not every single one of my Brickheads did sell, but I was pleasantly surprised with the ones that did sell. Another thing that always sells really well at these brick festivals are the gifts with purchase. So these are the sets that I will generally get for free, either from Lego.com or from third-party sort of sellers like Voucher Cloud and things like that, where you can get a free gift with purchase if you spend a certain amount of money on Lego. And in total I sold 24 different gifts with purchase, and of course all of those sort of had no buy-in value, so they didn't cost me anything as such, and I will class all of that as profit. And I did sell 2 of the Mickey steamboats, the Mickey Mouse steamboats that were out recently that I got from Disney.com and from Shop Disney, and I sold those for £32 each. Interestingly, I had a couple of people in the comments before the event on on a previous video saying, are you taking your steamboats with you? And they did both sell. I don't think either of them sold particularly early, but during the day one of them sold, and I put the other one out and it sold a little bit later. So again, really pleased to sort of sell quite a few of these gift with purchase. And I think because they're relatively small sets, they're easy to carry, they're not too expensive. Some of them are a little bit more expensive, but most of them are sort of within the sort of £15 to £25 price bracket, depending. They're nice little sets to get. A lot of people haven't seen these sets. Maybe they don't live near a Lego store or can't get to a Lego store, or maybe missed out on the promotion when it was out. So I think people will always like these free gifts with purchase to buy. Obviously they're spending money on them themselves, but they are always sets that seem to do well at these brick festivals, so I'll always take those with me. I also took some poly bags with me as well. They're not sort of my greatest sellers, but it's always nice to have sort of the poly bag box there, just so people can sort through. I don't know how many I took in total. I always take far more than I need, because they're just easy to carry. I can stick them in the car in a little corner somewhere where I've got a little bit of room. But in total I sold 20 different poly bags, and what was interesting this time, more so than previous brick festivals, quite a lot of those VIP add-on packs that Lego have been doing over the last year. Quite a few of those sold. I think I sold... Well, I probably only sold about 7 or 8, but it seemed quite a lot. I didn't take that many with me. And again, I was really only selling them for around about £6 each, so not a great deal of profit. But it was interesting to see that those particular things were finally selling, and I made a bit of profit. As the day went on, it was kind of interesting. It was sort of really busy to start with, from around about 10 o'clock from when they opened until about 12:30, and it was interesting about 12:30 because there were still quite a lot of people in the hall, but for whatever reason I just didn't make a sale for about 20 minutes. It was really strange. It was kind of like sell, and suddenly I had nobody there, which is always nice. It gives me a chance to have a bit of a relax and have something to eat, because I always get really hungry at these events when you're sort of just busy and run off your feet all the time. I did get more sellers as the day went on, and I did manage to sell a few of my other sets. For example, I know the crocodile locomotive, that sold later on in the day, which was great. And I think really the last hour of the event, between 3 and 4 o'clock, there really weren't that many people around at that stage, and I don't think I sold anything within that last hour. So you're always going to go get those lulls at these particular events. But ultimately I'm actually quite pleased with how the event went. As I say, I didn't quite make as much as I did last time on the last Brick Festival, but I certainly made a reasonable amount of money, and of course part of that was helped by the £900 that I took by selling the greengrocer. So it was certainly a very good day. It was easy to pack up as well, so even though I still had around about 57 box sets left, they're actually a lot easier to pack away, put them in my car. I managed to get away from the event in half an hour by 4:30, and then it was a long drive home then, and then I unpacked everything from my car. I think I did it the next day because I was absolutely shattered by the end of the day. By the time I got back, I'd taken the Monday off work, and that gave me time to recuperate and to sort of sort everything out. I will continue to do these brick festivals. I generally only do them in the south of England, so apologies if you live elsewhere. There may be a day when I come to a different brick festival, but I'm already booked into 2 for next year, one in Southampton in April and one in Portsmouth in October. I'm hoping there's going to be a couple more. I know the dates for Bournemouth, for example, and Weston haven't been released yet for next year, so I maybe hope to get into a couple of those again, because they're always very good events, and the more local events I can get, the less travelling there is for me. And also I just wanted to say thank you as well to all the people that came up to say hello. There was a lot of people that sort of recognised me from YouTube, more so than ever before. Normally these things I get 1 or 2 people that say recognise me from YouTube, or you Ian's Bricks and all that kind of stuff. There must have been about 20 people as the day went on that recognised me. Even got a few selfies, so thank you very much if you came over to say hello. It's always much appreciated. Sorry if I didn't have as long to talk to you as I would have liked, but when I'm sort of busy it's quite difficult to sort of juggle everything. And a lot of the traders as well, I managed to, because it got quieter later on, I managed to have a wander around and chat with some of the other traders as well, asked how they'd done. Obviously again, some of the traders recognised me as well from YouTube, which is always really nice, so thank you if that was you. But that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this sort of roundup of the sets that I sold at the Western Brick Festival. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until next time, take care and we'll see you then. Bye for now.